Welcome to this seminar. It's called Give Teachers Opportunity to Combine Research and Teaching. And my name is Elisabet Nihlfors. And I hope that you out there will join me later on in this seminar to chat and to talk and to reflect over what I want to tell you in the beginning. This seminar will emphasize on the importance of involving professionals in research. And let me from the beginning make clear that with research, I mean work carried out of researchers. And with the researcher, I mean a person with a doctoral degree. But the researcher can be appointed at a university or at school. That doesn't matter. It is a researcher. And the research I refer to in this seminar will have its starting point in what the professional sees as crucial to know more about, and that the research is involving teachers, principals, pupils and students in the work. Oh, sorry, that got too far. I should say this research takes time, but another starting point and why this is so important is that all our children and young adults shall reach as far as possible. That is in the Swedish school law. And it also says that the education they will have will be based on scientific grounds and proven experience. And we also know by research that the teachers are crucial when it comes to making this coming through. To be able to do all this, the teachers must have the opportunity to come closer to their own knowledge and to be able to take responsibility for searching for new knowledge when needed. So what I am talking to in the same time is that we are asking for a new school organization, that this work is built in the ordinary scheme. It's nothing putting afterwards. It's part of my job. We are talking about very many different types of teachers, from early preschool to up in secondary school. And we are also talking about teachers working with children and young adults in very different contexts. So very much we have to look for different knowledge to meet the teacher's need of knowledge. With this picture, I also want to show that this is a difficult or complex situation wherever you are working. Because this is school in life, it's also life in school. And what I mean with this is that all children and young adults bring in their lives, their neighborhoods, their experience into schools, and the teachers has to meet them there. And they also bring their neighborhood and experience with them into this. I will want to emphasize the neighborhood's impact on what we are doing in school. I myself think there is an area that we need more research on before we come directly into the classroom. Where do they come from? What do they bring into the classroom? You should also use these pictures, the sustainability, the climate crisis, the wicked question, whatever you want to call it. Also, the world is in the classroom. I'm going too fast this again. I'm so sorry. Hope you follow me anyhow. But the word in the classroom, even if the door is closed. So we have to take that into account when we are working. Now I'll see if I can go to the next picture. It seems to live its own life, but anyhow. What I want to say is that it's so different situations around schools that it's important that the professionals in that school has the possibility to build their own knowledge together with colleagues and of course with a broad connection with other schools and other fields. Let's have a try. Peter Kemp is a philosopher from Denmark. He wrote a book once and I liked one, it's not a quote, but he said something like this, that to talk about the curricula, you can say that education's purpose is to provide children and young people with knowledge that enables them to survive in the world, and at the same time give them that knowledge that enables the world to survive. it's pretty much so today with all the questions we have to deal with as teachers and ordinary citizens. And even if the teaching is an art form, it is with a scientific basis. It is creative when it's made, but it's still the principles is based on this scientific. We need to help each other to have the new knowledge coming into the classroom when it is needed, when it is asked for, when I am prepared to listen to the answers. And we have a long time to work on this. Again, I'm back to the preschool, and you can think of how long time it will take before our 2-year-old kids are coming on to upper secondary school. So we have plenty of time to work with this. And I hope that these children, when they go through their schools, they meet inspiring teachers all through the education, so they want to go further to higher education and become a teacher. Hopefully. They will maybe be a teacher in combination with something else, like a civil engineer or something else. Some will continue directly to take a doctoral degree. Some will leave it to later on and come back to the university. And I must say myself, I hope that many teachers go directly out to schools and become teachers, knowing that there is a possibility to later on combine research and teaching if they want to do that. Let's say they are coming back now to the teacher training. And today in Sweden anyhow, maybe you are better equipped out there, they have to work very hard to get this to a coherent situation. The subjects they read, the subject didactics of course, the core of educational sciences, and what I have called here on-the-job training. What I mean is the practice they do in the teacher training. This is, I'm allowed to say, not always going hand in hand, but we try and we try. And I think maybe that research can be one of the things that we can use better to make this to be a wholeness. This picture is one way to show 4 different ways to approach research. Here it says teachers, you can read students as well. If the students learn this in teacher training, it's easier to come out as a teacher. And think about how do I handle different ways when focusing is in the content or focusing on the processes of research. I have it both, and I need to know where to engage in what. I read research, I read and understand, I read and try to do, or I am part of a process, a project, as a student, as a teacher, creating new knowledge. I read others' research, and I can read it critically, and I can use it from my purpose. I learn how to research, tutor it, based, led, or oriented. If we give this, we can use it on subjects, we can use it in our core of educational sciences, and of course, when we are doing our practice. And I want to emphasize, the critical thinking is important, is always important, not only in research, in what you do as a teacher. So, we leave them, they go out for their first work. So let me use this picture for the first work. It's from my colleague Seashore Lewis, who made a model of how we interact in schools. And we all know that to the right in this picture, where the teacher are, there is an most important area. What school conditions there are, what type of culture I create as a teacher, and my relation. Of course, there is a double arrow. I hope you see that, because it's not visible. A double arrow to the students and their learning. But notice as well that this research, as well as my own, actually, in the Nordic countries, says that don't miss to look to the left. The relation to the principals, the relation to the school owners, and the relation to the, here it says, other stakeholders, the neighborhood, the life between the houses, as we can say as well. This is also research that needs to be at place. In Sweden, we only have 1,100 different school owners. So think of putting in different places, different contexts, different experience, different knowledge, and you have very different areas of schooling. What I want these teachers to, and school principals, is to be sure about is they know that they, in their context, have to do the analysis. They know the situation. They know where to search for knowledge, to understand their own situation and prepare for maybe a change or a critical approach to, are we doing the right things? There is no one else. It's coming from the inside, from the professionals. And that's why I'm here to talk for the need of to get the profession into research, not only as consumers, but also as to produce knowledge, new knowledge. There are, of course, many different strategies for school development. I used one of them, made it easy in a way, black and white, top down or bottom up. Yeah, we need them both. But again, we know that schools will always be a place where different ideas want to interact or come into the schools and do things. That will always be so, and thanks for that. It's an important area. But at the same time, I will stress again, it's important that they who work there know and can answer for what is going on here. How are we doing it? What are we working out of? Proven experience, research, whatever. If we want to have a development that really goes further in a good way, we believe in that it should be a mutual meeting place for they who are responsible, let's say, from above, and they from below. I would like to say from different parts of the school system. If you remember the other picture I had earlier, that is from the teacher to the school owner, that there is meeting places. It could be called a third room. We come from different rooms and we meet in the third one, a new one together. And it's important that we listen to each other and we want to listen to each other's knowledge to go further. This is a question about power. Who has the power over knowledge? Who has the knowledge and who can express it? This ladder is a way of saying, I'm not talking of every teaching become a researcher. But I say that everyone working in school has to come to the first step. Because everyone is going to educate and build their pedagogical work on scientific knowledge, it doesn't say that, and proven experience. That's for sure. And this ladder will just say, colleagues of me have done this for years ago, do your own ladder. What is going to happen? What do we need? What can we do? You can call it also a sort of infrastructure. How can a teacher make career, become a special teacher or a principal or a researcher? And I haven't translated, so don't bother if you are not Swedish speaking. Doesn't matter, that is not my point. My point is there are many ladders. You can decide how many you want to go, when you want to go it, and some of you will sometimes be part of a research project. Some of you will come back, take a degree, doctoral degree, and please stay in school. Why do I say that? You don't have to stay anywhere. You can work both in school and in universities. That is something that must be more common in the future, from time to time. You don't have to choose. But we need more teachers with a doctorate degree out in schools. There are hundreds of them. They need to be 500 of them to have these places, the third rooms around Sweden. But that could be one strategy. This is another strategy or a model. Back to doing research now. I have heard many times that if you want to do research together with teachers, they can't put forward their questions. Oh, they can. But these questions doesn't have to be a research question. Let's sit down in this first room you have down to the right and discuss the problem formulation. What is it there we need new knowledge? Or do we have knowledge? Maybe we can give an answer directly. But we find there is something new, or there is a new context, as I tried to show beforehand. We may have the knowledge, but the context is so different. We need to do it over again to see how does it function here then. And please read in the end, it requires meeting and conversation with people who have knowledge on the problem, as well as reviewing literature regarding the spread of the problem. We need to be together, researchers and teachers, principals, whoever is interested in this. And from this we go further and discuss theory, what is probably the best here, how can we do it, how can we design the thing. And what I'm trying to stress is that a research project can be small, but it can have many different people involved to collect data or to be at a seminar discussing the results. Why this? Because we don't know what the result will be. And because for me, research is when you're searching for something you don't know the answer. So then you don't know the answer, you have to be prepared for, wow, I didn't know this was coming out. Maybe we will have to change. And that is not something you do in 5 minutes, something you do on the job, in your job, regularly. Van der Wens also says, in a good way, I think, that engaged scholarship is a participative form of research for obtaining the different perspectives of key stakeholders in producing knowledge, etc. What you see on this picture is, it's about complex problems. You need each other. You want to have diversity, diverse background, diverse knowledge. That is the point of to do research together and in explicit now between researchers in school and university on the spot for the professionals' questions. And he ends, when we do that, it's more certain that we get knowledge more penetrating and insightful than if we do it on our own. For me, this is just an axiom. There are some advice to have academic practitioner research team from some colleagues, Hackman, that I'm using. Here is 2, 3 more will come. I have said it earlier, we need an infrastructure to make everything make it possible and easier for everyone to go from idea to work, not invent this every time as we had done during the days we look back. Or then we need a milieu, we need a team. It can change, but it needs a place where we can meet. And this that you can see, you can read yourself there, carefully selected, again, diverse background, etc. And it's, of course, important that we clarify the different roles in this third room, to come back to that. Here you have the 3 other advice from Hackman. What I have been talking about, and I am talking about, is that we have here in Sweden for 5 years now, we have, let's say, tried out different ways to create this infrastructure. It's 25 universities and around 100 to 200 different school owners. So quite a lot of people have tried in different areas in Sweden how to deal with this. And one thing we find is that we need these regular meeting places. and that is Hackman's third advice. It's my first advice. Build into the organization that people can meet, and I say every second week, 1.5 hours, that's minimum, to have an ongoing talk about knowledge building. What do we know? What do we need to know? How do we do that? And when we have a scholar person leading this, we see a difference, because then we see a direction, we see a person who knows where to search for knowledge and how to take research into these group discussions. So that's why I said we need more scholar people from the research area working out in schools. It's also, you can read yourself time. I said it earlier, once every second week, wouldn't be that much, I think, but it is still very difficult. 10% of a teacher's time is difficult to have for research in some areas. If we want to, if we need new knowledge, that is a safe way to go, to give 10%. So here is something not only in organization, in resources, it's also an attitude. But we are working on it, and it's getting better and better. When they see that the results, it's very useful. That something happens when teachers are involved in this research and students are involved in research, they have another approach to their own profession. But why this also to establish this meeting? It's also because it takes time to build confidence and trust, if that is possible. It takes even longer. But you need to meet and talk and be serious, and that is what we have met during these 5 years. Municipality says to university, you are serious. You are interested in our experience. That is good to hear, but said in another way. Haven't we listened to each other carefully enough? We have to do that if we should solve the big problems we have here, now, and in the future. So the last picture is this one you see, the attitude. You have to be interested in this type of research. You can do research in other ways, and that's fine. But if you want to come close, to be a listener, because you yourself can't figure out all these wicked problems or different ways of thinking, this is the way to go. And both will have good out of this, both the researcher and the teacher. And remember, the researcher can be appointed at school or university, don't forget that. So I have been talking about research and researchers that are interested, as I said, in professionals, their questions. They are eager to get the different perspective, because the question is difficult. Doesn't have to be wicked, but I think they are. And interested in working together in the long run. This is no quick fix. It takes time. That's why it's so important that many people are involved during these years. Because we meet that they want to have an answer in 1 year's time, or maybe 2 years' time. I'm talking about 3 to 5 years' time to establish new knowledge that can change the world and that can give children the possibility, and young adults, to reach as far as possible where I started. So there I will end my part and have a friend coming up, and hopefully someone reading all your comments and reflection on the chat, and we can continue the conversation, I hope. Welcome.
Thank you, and thank you so much for a fascinating talk.
Who are you?
So my name is Pontus Wallin, and I am a researcher and project manager at the Swedish Institute for Educational Research, Good. Which is also part of this infrastructure that you're talking about.
Right.
So on many fronts, we're building it, lately. And the ULF projects, will now have a continuation also. What would you say are the main lessons from these years that we've had this initiative in Sweden?
I think I should answer you on two ways. Both that it takes time to build up confidence. And that is actually what we started with for a long time, because there was a suspicious in the beginning. And the next time is that it's not a question of money. It's a question of to really listen. What is the question? How can we deal them? Do we know something about that? And some of my colleagues, I do admit, they rather go straight ahead and have the money. And that's the way we have been learned. I search for money, I get it, and I go working. Here we start another starting point. And that's why I said that it needs an infrastructure. And what I mean with that is we have to meet, we have to talk, we have to do it over and over again. We have to search, we have to understand. Every question from you or me is not a research question. Maybe, and I say, I've been working with research for many years now, I know there are plenty of research results out there that teachers and principals doesn't know about, and they have not access to it. So there is quite a lot to do before we say, wow, here's a research area we have to go further with.
So there are obviously challenges, and you mentioned that teachers also need to find time for reading research. But also researchers, I mean, they might not have the incentives to do this. As you say, I mean, they might be interested in getting publications, getting research funding,
yeah,
etc.
great,
So,
saying.
what do you think is where is the biggest challenge for these groups to meet?
Good you mentioned publications, actually. So it is two systems that are meeting, and they are not... hopefully they can be compatible. But they are very different, and should be, of course. But as I say, researchers have to make their publications. And that is a difficulty for researchers appointed at schools, because they don't have that time to make their publication in English in the journals, which is the one we get money back from. So here is, and this has been an ongoing discussion, that is, how can you value when I do research material in my mother tongue? And of course I have to do it in English as well. But this means time and resources, actually. So that is one thing. The other thing is, how far is it to university? And I suppose if you are in different countries, some have very close to some university, but maybe you don't want to work together with them. You want to work with someone else because they have this knowledge you are searching for. So in the work I'm talking about, we try to merge university to go together, a node system, and say, well, talk to the node, and we will figure out who has the time, who has the knowledge, who has the interest to do this. Some reflection from your question.
I mean, research is a jungle more and more. I mean, we see exponential growth of publications internationally, so it's very difficult to find the right publications,
yes.
I guess.
Yes, it is.
So this is what we're working with at the Swedish Institute for Educational Research to produce these systematic reviews, to try to compile scientific knowledge, collect it, and make it available in a more concise way.
And that is one of the most important things. And I do want that you could have 10 more every year of this. I mean, actually, because when the question comes, let's say we are in the school somewhere, and the question comes up, and the researcher or the scholar who is there can say, well, I know, but no, I don't know, because it's not my area. I have to search. So even if it's a teacher or if the researcher need to scan what is going on before we do it inside the research project. So it's step one. Do we know anything about this? And then what you are doing on the Institute is so very much important. And there we are, I would say, in the beginning. Are you agree upon that?
Yes, I agree with that. I also think it's very valuable. we also try to like support teachers in their research literacy, as you talked about. I mean, that this is very important as well. So I saw a question in the chat that I think it was a teacher who asked, how do we go about getting into a PhD project, a program? You mentioned some number on a vision for how many PhD researcher teachers there will be in the future.
Yeah.
What do you see about the potential of teachers doing a PhD program and becoming a researcher?
That's very valuable, and we have had in Sweden for many years this type of research course, but they have stayed at university. And I want to try to do it in a way that you maybe, if you asked, you want to stay in school and can have, but work in both places. And that is, today I think it's easy because it's better wages in schools than in university in Sweden. But the new research schools coming up now is a combination together with the school owners and university in nodes. We are today 8 university doing one together, because we want to attract many different teachers who want to work in teacher training, even if it is in university or school. Both have the teacher training, I say. And we are going to the government now next year and say we want to have 2 such research schools in each node. They are 5, I think they will be. So during the next 10 years, we can give this possibility for teachers to become researchers in schools and in universities.
This was my next question. What do you see for the future? How to develop or evolve for the ULF project to sort of evolve? And I was also thinking about like how it's distributed over Sweden. If there are parts of Sweden that are sort of not where there's no access to this kind of infrastructure, and maybe some schools, smaller schools, like is it an equity problem?
Yes, yes. That's a good question. Thank you. Very good. Because today, how it looks like, and we think, okay, we have 4 nodes, we will be 5, I think. But today, all university with teacher training are involved. So the next step in your question is, though, how many school owners? And it's only 200 of 1,100. And everyone couldn't, will not always be included in a research project. That is not the goal. But have to choose or be part of or join. And what I think is very important is that also the school owners will find some way of nodes, also working together, and not then that all small municipalities go together and all big together. Because here you have the differences how much you can afford and how much people you have to do all things that should be done in schools. This is only one thing we are talking about. So it must be a combination of bigger municipalities or school owners together with smaller, so that you can interact. And we have tried now also that a teacher with a doctorate degree then works for several school owners, not only for one. Well, that means that is maybe 40% teaching, 60% for research and reaching out, or in how do you want to say it. And that's why I'm coming back to say, when we do a research project, please invite teachers from other schools. So what we are looking forward to now to grow is to grow organic in a way. They who listened to the seminar before us, KULP, on KTH, do you say that, the University KTH? They can organically take one more municipality or school owner into this project. So I think when we know now that this will exist, we can take it a little bit slower and say, okay, let's go and let more people come into this work. Have you any more questions from the chat, or that was the question we had to ask? So no good ideas from you out there. I hope you said we have fixed this, so we already have this running. But we are coming closer. to a well-functioning system, I think, together with the institute, because it's a tough area, and we need to also give researchers possibilities to have everything is a free choice. You are not forced into anything, but also to do things in your room, so to speak. Some questions are not fit for the classroom situation, but can be very relevant for the classroom situation. If you remember my picture in the beginning, how the society looks around your school, maybe a didactic need research on things about criminality, what it can be. So we need the whole table will be full with research, and we want to add this energy from the profession to take a stand in their own knowledge building. So with that, thank you very much.
Thank you
For coming together with me in this talk, and thank you for listening.